All we ever hear about Ukraine is what the politicians think, what Europe thinks, what Washington thinks, Trump, Putin, what Zelensky thinks. What about the journalists and all the influencers? They all have something to say too. Everyone's talking about Ukraine, but almost nobody is talking about the Ukrainians. Moms, dads, brothers, sisters, grandparents, kids. The families living in the middle of this entire mess. And that's the part that nobody in power really wants to face. The whole world argues about sovereignty, about pride, about borders, optics, money, and alliances. But not one of these people is asking Ukrainians a simple question. What do you want this war to become? And how do you want it to end? Because here's what you learn when you actually talk to a real Ukrainian family. Not elites, not influencers, but the people living with this every single day. They're tired. They're not weak. They're not defeated. Just tired of losing pieces of their life, their home, and their future. And I'll give you a personal example. As you know, my wife, Olga, is Ukrainian. Her parents had to evacuate when the war began. We brought them to us. Their home is gone, completely destroyed. They lost everything except their love for their country. And you know what they talk about all the time? Going home. Not because it's safe, not because it's smart, that's for sure, but because it's home. Because they miss their land, their memories, their roots, their friends. Nobody's asking them what they want, though. Nobody is asking families like theirs what peace means to them. Nobody is asking the people who lost the most, who bled the most, who carry the emotional weight every single day. And there's a question the world avoids. If the life in Russian-controlled areas is so universally unbearable, why isn't there widespread resistance? Why no uprisings? Why no sabotage networks like in other occupied nations? I'm not claiming the answer. I'm not. I can't confirm it anyway. But the absence of that resistance raises a legitimate question. Does the global narrative match the lived reality on the ground? We don't know because nobody asks the people living there, do they? Instead, the world debates itself in circles. Europe says we must be involved. EU officials worry about losing face. Talking heads blame Trump. Talking heads blame Putin. Washington sends more money. Europe demands more money. And everyone knows Ukraine was deeply corrupt even before the war started. So what do you think happens when their entire economy becomes foreign aid? While elites argue about pride and positioning, families like my wife Olga's, real Ukrainians are ignored. They're the ones living in limbo. The ones who moved 3, 4, 5 times. The ones wondering if they'll ever see their home again. If peace is ever going to happen, it won't come from egos in Brussels, Washington, or Moscow. It will come from listening to the millions of Ukrainians who are living the consequences of every decision. And there are real, historically proven ways to end this war, but every single one requires listening to the people. Here are 3 ways. 1, a people's mandate. Let Ukrainians themselves choose what peace looks like through a referendum or national survey, not elites. How about 2, a monitored ceasefire. Stop the killing now, freeze the lines temporarily, and negotiate slowly with neutral observers. 3, a neutrality for security deal. Ukraine could choose neutrality in exchange for guaranteed long-term safety and reconstruction, a model that has ended other wars. None of these solutions come from ego. None come from political pride. They come from one place, the people who have lost the most. So let me say this clearly. If you're not listening to the Ukrainian people, the families, like my in-laws, the ones who lost their homes, their stability, and in many cases, their loved ones, then you're not fighting for Ukraine. You're fighting for a narrative. It's time to put the people, not the politicians, at the center. Because without the people, there is no Ukraine left to even argue about. So to the figureheads that say they want peace, stop chasing profit, start providing solutions. Join me on Patreon for more.